Let's get some more analysis on this now with Chris Doyle. He is a Middle East commentator and director at the Council of Arab-British Understanding. Thanks very much for being with us. So first of all, what do you make of this ruling by the High Court?
Well, it is, as those leading campaign groups have said, a setback. But I think actually they have achieved a great deal. When they embarked upon this legal process, the UK government had not suspended arms licenses to Israel, which it did on the 2nd of September. And what this legal case was about as to whether the courts could overrule the government in its continued supply to the global spare parts pool for F-35s in a multinational collaborative framework, because there's 8 countries that contribute to the F-35. And the court said, we're not here to rule about whether one should or should not supply weapons to Israel, but we do not believe that the courts has the power to overrule the executive in this case. So I think that this will open up other avenues. I think they would have learned a great deal from the legal arguments being deployed here. But it still remains that huge pressure is on the British government to take further actions, because even since the situation in September, it is even more absolutely explicitly clear that Israel is committing war crimes, crimes against humanity, and in the view of those legal claimants at the High Court and many others, it is also committing the crime of genocide. So given that and the increased backing of public opinion, I still think that the British government and indeed others have to do a lot more to put pressure on Israel to end those crimes.
So as you're saying, the court is saying that this is essentially a constitutional issue, an issue of executive power versus the power of the courts. So with that in mind then, on the merits of the case itself, the government has argued that there's no way that the UK could unilaterally halt the export of UK-made parts without it impacting the worldwide fleet of F-35s and threatening, they say, global peace and security. How would you respond to that?
Well, this is the argument, but I do think that actually in a situation of genocide, that there is a much higher purpose to actually doing absolutely everything you can to stop that and prevent that, and that therefore to continue supplying those parts actually risks UK complicity with that genocide. But even then, even if you allow the fact that Britain then should contribute to this global supply program, the government could easily have said, because we don't want to take these specific measures, we're going to take other measures in lieu. They could have made some very powerful measures against the Israeli government to demonstrate that they are utterly opposed to what's happening. But what we have seen really has been piecemeal. The sort of steps that they've been taken have always been too little, too late. The sanctioning of 2 ministers that happened recently, a few weeks ago, well, frankly, they could have been sanctioned for those genocidal comments back in October 2023. There are also other ministers who've made similarly utterly appalling comments. And I think that, the government at every stage has been unwilling really to take Israel to task. And that has to change. The population of Gaza is being starved. People are about to die of thirst. It is unconscionable that we continue in the same way.
Good to get your analysis on this, Chris Doyle. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.